Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Bleed Loss Podcast. This week's podcast is presented by our partners at BetOnline. Football is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all of your football betting needs this season. You'll find all the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all of your sports wagering info, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports and events like MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, and even golf. Head on over to betonline.ag to join, and you'll receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Just make sure you use our promo code, which is BLEAV, BLEAV, to receive your rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts. We were talking about fantasy football a little bit ago and how dumb it is, and we're not going to discuss that. But we might make some bets though on this playoff series because the Dodgers now have a DS opponent. It's a rematch of the 2020 DS, the San Diego Padres. So that's why if you're watching this, Nick Kreider and aka Nicky Snacks and Heath Bell of the Ring the Bell podcast are joining us here. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thanks for having us back, guys. Excited to be still in the playoffs.
Congratulations.
That's the optimism that they all want to hear.
Tell me the truth, Nick. Did you not think they were going to beat the Mets?
No, I thought we were.
Okay.
So I honestly thought we would sweep them because I wasn't so confident in how DeGrom's been looking for the last month of his regular season. But, I mean, he showed up. He was DeGrom, and they stymied the Padres offense, but I knew that with Joe Musgrove out there, he wasn't going to let it end for San Diego. Him being a San Diego guy, it meant so much to him to get that win. And look, they gave up one hit against the Mets. If you get one hit, you're not going to score.
True. Let me ask you this before we dive into the matchup thing. What did you think of Buck Showalter in the sixth inning asking for the umps to check Joe Musgrove?
This is all Heath.
Well, let me check behind my ears really quick.
I do like it when my wife tickles me behind my ears. It relaxes me.
For a minute there, I thought Heath was doing the Hogan bullshit. Now it's just like, oh, come on, Heath, please.
Let me put it this way. It was complete bullshit of what Buck did. It literally was. Just reminds me of, I think Bobby Cox was a great manager, but when somebody threw 5-6 scoreless innings, they would literally, if he had a gold chain or something, hey, that's enhancing. You can't have a gold chain, so you got to take it off for my hitters just to get in the pitcher's head or whatnot. And that's all Buck did. If you saw the interview Buck had after the game, he's like, well, kind of sounded like Joe Biden a little bit. We had a lot of different information. It didn't go our way. I'm like, what are you talking about? You just tried to get into his head. You tried anything. Your hitters couldn't do it, and it just kind of pissed me off because Joe was out there pitching an unbelievable game, and Buck tried to help his team. It's true. I get it. I don't know if I would have done that because I have morals, and sometimes you come against a pitcher that just is dominating. And he liked to say at the part of his interview, well, the spin rotation, that I think everybody believes, is a little bit more or this or that. How can it not be more in the opening day of a season because your adrenaline is pumping, or even in the first round of the playoffs or a World Series game, even Game 7, your adrenaline's pumping so much. You have so much energy more than you did 2 weeks ago, a week ago, last outing. Even Dodger pitchers are going to be a little bit better or whatnot. And if they're not, maybe they're just not riled up. They're not pumped up enough. Where the Padres, we made it in the playoffs. We were supposed to be the 6th seed. Turn into the 5th seed. Everybody was saying, well, we're going to face Atlanta. Do we want to face the Cardinals, not Atlanta? Then all of a sudden Atlanta takes over the Mets. The Mets are kind of falling. Then we just go and kind of like pummel the Mets and say, we're not going to get base hits. We're just going to hit home runs off Max Scherzer, and just hit home runs everywhere. And then our guy that's hitting 190 is just going to be like MVP of the series. So we were all pumped and excited, where I think the Mets were just kind of like upset. And Buck Showalter's BS. I mean, that was dog shit of what he did, really. Sorry, my French and all, but
yeah, I agree with that.
And then here's the worst thing on Twitter, McCutcheon. Some guys put icy hot behind their ears. I've never heard that.
Never.
I've heard of icy hot in your cooch area. underneath your balls.
He said, "Cooch."
Yeah. Or your whatever you call it. But that area, it's one of those things. But I've heard you do that because your arm hurts. It's not because you're more focused. It's more like I need some other body. I need a pain in my body somewhere else besides my arm, so my arm doesn't hurt. I've never heard it makes you focus more. I mean, I've had icy hot on my arm, my shoulder, and my elbow, and all I could think was my arm's going to melt. You know.
Yeah.
So, and I've never heard it on the ears. I mean, that's a position player saying, well, pitchers do this. Well, yeah. Should I say everything a position player does too? I mean, just throw it right back at you. So anyway, I just thought it was, you never heard any other pitchers go, yeah, he's doing something wrong. So that chapped my hide. Joe Musgrove pitched the game of his life, just like he did the perfect game.
Right.
Tip your hat to him. I mean, he was on the whole night. And like you said, Nick, San Diego born, lived there. He was not going to let the Padres go down on his watch, and he didn't.
He's a big game pitcher. I feel like he plays so much better under pressure. He was the home opener, and he shoved then. He had that first no-hitter. He plays well against the Dodgers for the most part. Like, he really comes to life in these big moments. And I don't think he would ever even risk cheating in that situation, especially with the whole Tatis thing this season, how the whole team reacted. And of course, he was on that Astros team that beat the Dodgers, and he has come out and said that ring doesn't feel legitimate. He wants to win a real one, right? It's tarnished. So there's no chance he's going to allow his reputation to be, put aside for some sticky stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I did like what he did.
Red hot isn't even sticky. It's
right.
like slimy.
No, yeah. I did like what he did when I forgot who he got out after all that happened, and he just looks at the dugout and does one of these.
Does the Kenny Powers.
Yeah, does the Kenny Powers.
Oh, you know what? I was thinking Major League. Sometimes I got to put a little snot in my nose.
That's what I thought.
That's what I went with. Yeah. I got a little jalapeno up my nose.
Yeah. That will be
good old Harris.
That'll be interesting to see though next year, because obviously the Mets have to play the Padres at some point, assuming Buck isn't let go, because that's its own dumpster fire that we can talk about another time. But tomorrow the DS starts, and like I said, it's a rematch of 2020. Full disclosure, the reason I put on my picks, if you look on Twitter, that the Mets were going to advance is I didn't want to play the Padres because I think they're a little bit more of a matchup nightmare for the Dodgers than the Mets are. Because the Mets have been ailing. Jacob deGrom has not been Jacob deGrom. Their offense has been whereas the Padres, they've kind of been figuring it out the last little bit. Juan Soto, Juan's daughter's favorite baseball player, Juan Soto, he's been turning it around. Josh Hader for the last month has been Josh Hader. So I feel like that's a little bit more of a pitching matchup, a matchup nightmare. But also, it's going to be a good series because the Dodgers have three studs, three horses. The Padres have three horses, and I agree 100% with you that Joe Musgrove is a big game pitcher. That dude is that's one of the reasons I was kind of hoping he'd go to market and the Dodgers could maybe sign him. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think of all that. Beginning with the Princess of Positivity, Alicia del Valle.
I didn't know if you were going to come to me because I feel like you're being super sweet and generous to our Padres guests.
He's just worried about us. That's
I want to congratulate you because last night's game, I was totally defending. My mother was yelling at the television, pissed off that the umpire did that. The disrespect, the desperation of the Mets to pull that kind of crap. It's kind of like, you want to play the game the right way, right? That's what you keep hearing, the right way. Is that what we're becoming, where if you dominate, you're going to be accused of cheating? Like, it's just unfortunate. So congratulations to you. I did wake up this morning and I was going to watch the news to see if San Diego lit itself on fire because I'm totally talking shit, you guys. I'm so happy that you guys are in it. I love your ballpark. I'm trying to kind of drop the Princess of Positivity because I listen to the way people talk. And when Musgrove was dominating yesterday, I had Juan Alonso he's like my little Prince of Darkness on my right shoulder. I started thinking of everything that could go wrong against the Dodgers. Like, like Alonso just mentioned, is Juan Soto now, did he just catch fire at the worst time for the Dodgers? Should the Dodgers fans be concerned when I know everybody I know wanted the Padres? They didn't want the Mets, especially because every guest we had on, Alonso, weren't they all, you don't want the Mets, you don't want the Mets. Even former Dodgers pitchers were saying, you don't want the Mets. And now look at the Padres. So congratulations, guys. It's so awesome.
Thank you. It's nice to hear nice words from you, Alicia. I'm not used to it. I'm not used to it.
I'm being rough, but it is pretty cool. And I have the Prince of Darkness one in my ear saying, this is not good. This is somebody who has, what is it called? The Padres are playing with house money.
Yeah.
Do you believe that, right? Do you believe that the Dodgers should be concerned, should be worried? Because if you just go by the numbers, the Dodgers have won every series, 14 of 19, and there are people who are concerned that the bye is gonna, slow down the momentum of the Dodgers machine. So should Dodgers be concerned?
I've heard as well, and I believe this to be true. We've got momentum coming out of this series, of course. Pitched a great game, just hit a great game, great series. And then the Dodgers really haven't played a meaningful game in months right now. Like, they've had that division locked up for 2 months, more than that. So the pressure, I think, for the Dodgers to kind of snap back into reality and kind of get back into that groove. We'll see how Dave Roberts manages that locker room to kind of get them to light a fire under their ass. But I do think you should be a little concerned. The Mets would have been a better matchup for you just because of the reasons of them ailing. I don't think Scherzer was 100% healthy. I don't think he's been healthy for a couple of years now, honestly. I think he had an oblique injury that he's been hiding. But honestly, yeah, I mean, as much as we didn't play well against you in the regular season, there's just that much more fuel to the fire.
Right. Yikes.
It's playoffs. It's not regular season.
Right.
So, and I kind of predicted towards the end of the season, pretty much September, if we could get into the playoffs, let's go up to LA. Let's lose a bunch of games to the Dodgers, make them feel really comfortable, and let's go see them in the playoffs, and we'll be ready to beat them. That's what I said on our podcast, and Nick can credit to it. And it's kind of a weird thing. Let somebody beat you and then turn around and beat them. So, but it's playoffs. It's brand new season.
So is that like kind of strategy? Like, let's kind of hold back, or is it just the magic is happening because they finally have been playing together? Your 3 stars, your pitching.
Well, the guys have definitely been starting to play together the last couple of weeks of the season. They were going out together. They were doing things together, what they needed to do. I think they came out of spring training doing that. Mid-season, I think they kind of maybe spread off and went other directions. Then the last month or so, August, September, they kind of came back into what they needed to do, and they started playing really well. And then a little strategy, I think if I was a coach, I wouldn't, if I was playing the Dodgers at the very end, knowing I'm going to the playoffs, they're going to win the division, I wouldn't put my best stuff out there. I'd still try to win the game, but I wouldn't try to win it like a playoff game and kind of see, okay, if I put this guy against this guy, what's he going to do? And then keep notes and go, okay, well, this guy hit this guy really well, or this, young guy faced, Mookie Betts and Mookie didn't do anything off him. Well, maybe I'll just put that in the back of my mind and just remember where the Dodgers are just trying to stay healthy for the playoffs, where we're kind of maybe strategizing a little bit more than normal. But we have to go back. We had to go down, get to business, beat the Mets. Now we have to go back to work. We have to try to beat the Dodgers. And then after that, we have to try to beat either the Braves or whoever the heck the Braves are going to play, because the Braves are probably going to win that one. So, but really it just boils down to pitching, defense, and, Padres aren't known for base hits. So we'll just hit a bunch of home runs. That's the only way we win. So, I mean, I'm speaking, maybe I'm an idiot. That's fine. But
No,
that's what I think is going to happen.
I mean, they're doing something right. It was fun to watch them, this series. So I'm looking forward to it.
I almost feel it. It's a little bit. It's not exactly as the 2010 Colorado Rockies that won 22 straight to get to the World Series, where they won. I think it was a 16 or 18 to finish the series. but something about that team just got together and got hot at the right time. Even the Washington Nationals a few years ago just got hot at the right time. And I think I know it brings up bad memories because against the Dodgers, and I was actually there at those games. But I just think the Padres they refuse to lose right now. They're supposed to lose, so we got nothing. We go out there, and if we lose, that's what everybody's going to say. It's going to happen. And if we win, everybody's going to be, well, how'd the Dodgers mess up? Not how the Padres beat them, how the Dodgers messed up. So we have nothing to lose. So we're going to go out there and play every ounce of our energy, and we're going to be exhausted, but we're going to have so much energy because it's the National League Division Series, and it's against our backyard, brothers, the Dodgers, right there. We always have this interleague rivalry. Who not to better to get to the championship than your brothers right next door, up north, I guess you would say.
Right. I mean, it's not going to happen, but if it did, it would make such a better story to be us. So
we'll see in a week. We'll see in a week.
I know. I welcome the challenge. Maybe we should, at the end of this, let's do a wager or something. That'd be fun. Like,
I'm game.
You gonna give us good odds? Well, on all the betting sites, I think the odds right now are the Padres are plus 180 to win this series, and the Dodgers are minus like 215. So still a pretty big swing your guys' way. But I like being the underdog. We're used to it.
Yeah, that's also a lot of bookmakers and stuff that do they stay up and watch the Padres the way they don't watch the Dodgers, So I'm just saying, I'm giving you guys props. Like, it was fun watching, and I loved the trash talking. I love seeing Machado fired up, like, even though he's hated here in LA, but it's fun to see, the guys play as a team. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to what Juan is going to say, because I swear in my mind, I'm like, oh no, what would Juan say? And it was always like the worst scenario, the worst thing that could happen to the Dodgers.
And you guys know, I'm the one that suffers from post-traumatic, playoff syndrome. But I want to say this. We chose our brackets going into the playoffs, and in these wild card games, I lost every single round except the show pods. I had the show pods beating the Mets. I had the Cardinals beating the Phillies. I had the Blue Jays beating the Mariners. I had the Rays beating the Guardians. The only one I got right was the show pods. Surprisingly enough, though, I will say this. I feel confident against the show pods. I feel the Dodgers are going to be Barry Sanders in the sense that they score a touchdown and just hand the ball to the referee. I love that the show pods have personality. I think this is great for baseball. Mm-hmm. I think it's much better to see the Dodgers and the show pods go at it in the division series than to see the Mets, because then I'm going to have to listen to all this East Coast bias about, how the Mets and all the look. The bottom line is this. You got two teams from the NL West in the playoffs. I think it was great to see the Dodgers and the Gigantes last year. I like to give West Coast baseball their due. I keep saying that the show pods are going to show up, and the show pods. So I'm glad that I'm finally right, and the show pods showed up, because to me, I just thought there's just too much talent. Now, I will say this. If the show pods can find a way to steal game one, that's going to make everyone a little nervous, because now you got Darvish set up, Blake Snell, who always kills the Dodgers, and then you got Musgrove. So the show pods are going to be in a really good position if they can find a way to steal game one. Now, right now, I'm a little scared just because they haven't announced who's pitching.
I know.
If Urias isn't the number one starter, then I'm going to be in full panic mode, because the Dodgers are going to pull the cute shit.
You guys have owned Clevenger all season, by the way.
But it's the playoffs. It's just like, Heath mentioned this earlier. Grisham's hitting 180 something, right? And all of a sudden, he turned into Eddie Rosario. Hey, Dodger fans, you guys remember Eddie Rosario? He's the guy who fucking killed us last year. So these things can happen, right? But I know Babyface has been harping on this cute thing that, hey, now let's look at the matchups. Just go with your best guy. Put your best guy out there and win the damn game. Right, Babyface? That's why you think the Mets lost, because they didn't go with DeGrom in game one, right?
That's what
Yeah. I think it would have been a completely different series if DeGrom goes game one and he shuts down the Padres. Because now, especially in a 3-game set, that first game was critical. So Padres won that first game. Now they had the house money. They knew all we got to do is win one out of the next two. So if the Mets would have won game one, it would have been reversed, and I think it could have flipped, and the Mets could have walked out with that series. But like I said, they did that cute stuff. The Mets were thinking. The Mets were thinking of the NLDS. They were thinking, "Hey, if we can win game one without DeGrom, maybe there's a way. We come back and win game two, and we've saved DeGrom for the NLDS." So they were thinking way far ahead and didn't. They weren't paying attention to the series at hand. But like I said, that's their issues. They played that series wrong, and it ended up costing them. So for the Dodgers, now the debate is it Kershaw or is it Julio for the game one? I'm starting to feel it's going to be Kershaw just because they haven't announced it, and they will announce it today because at the media later on today, the game one starter is going to be speaking. They didn't even they said game one starter speaking at 5:00, whatever. So I get the feeling it's going to be Kershaw just because the experience. Kershaw's handled the Padres pretty well. And I think they'd rather go with Kershaw game one and then Julio game two. And that's just kind of what I'm feeling.
So let me ask you this, Heath, because you've been there before. The Dodgers' rationale for this is they feel like whoever can recover quick enough to make 2 starts in a short series, that's who they're going to go with in game one. I feel like that's what's hurt Kershaw's playoff narrative is the Dodgers have really put him in bad positions, making him go on short notice, even though he's had to carry him throughout the whole regular season. And by the time he gets to the playoffs, he's just out of gas. And then they make him go on short notice. Is that a real thing for a pitcher come to postseason to go on less rest?
I believe some pitchers can do it. Some pitchers can't do it. I believe the guys that get a little bit more hyped up can go on short rest. The guys, and I'm not saying, I think Clayton Kershaw is a Hall of Famer and I love watching him play. And I mean, I got the most respect for the guy pitching wise and personal wise, but his demeanor is just nonchalant. I don't really see a lot of emotion when I see him pitch, or at least I haven't in the past. I haven't watched a lot of his games this year. And it's just like you're just so low key, short day rest. You're almost a little bit more tired because you don't let that adrenaline to kick in to be, you have to learn to harness that adrenaline. And I just feel like there's certain guys that can go on short days rest and then certain guys can't. Doesn't mean they're not going to pitch well. They're just stuff's not going to be, as Buck Showalter say, the RPMs are going to be lower than normal. But the guys that have and can let adrenaline and be a little bit more excited and just have that emotion, maybe can, go on a short day rest and go they haven't had sleep in 2 days, but they're going to still go out there and do it because they just have that emotion. But everybody's a little bit different. So, I mean, it's really going to boil down to pitching. I think for us, we're not the best hitters, and you guys have seen that all season long, where the Dodgers are definitely better hitters. But lately, we've been hitting the mistakes. And that's what we did in the Mets series, where they made one mistake, and every pitcher is going to make a mistake. We hit it. And as long as we can keep doing that, we'll be fine. And the Dodgers are really good hitters, and we just got to keep them to bay and not give them a big inning. But pitching, Kershaw, I agree with you. I think that's one of the things that has hurt the Dodgers in the past is they're too numberish and they take the emotion out of it, and they're just going to go, well, percentage says this. We're going to face this guy, so we should have this guy. There's a righty, there's a lefty. I remember one time playing with the Mets, and it was Art Howell, and there was a lefty that came in to pitch. We pitch hit a lefty. And I forget the reason Art said. He just said something like, I just felt like it was the right thing to do. He was due for a hit, and I forget who it was, came up there and got a game-winning double. So you got to take some gut. You got to some feel of it sometimes. I think Dave Roberts does that, but I think the front office clouds him a little too much about what to do. So, I mean, Dave knows baseball, but, you're also dealing with the front office. That's what baseball's all about now. I'm not a big fan of that, but So
And one real quick. What
Yeah.
didn't make sense too is like Roberts has been saying like whoever can bounce back for Game 5.
Yeah.
But whoever starts Game 1 is going to be on regular rest for Game 5. So it doesn't make sense whether it's Kershaw or Julio.
Exactly. And it's just one of those things that I don't know what Julio did to the Dodgers organization. I really don't. Because the disrespect, if this guy does not get the ball on Game 1, I mean, by all means, just get used to it, Dodgers fans. When he becomes a free agent, he's gone. And you can come back and point to these moments where the guy was not treated as the stud. I mean, the guy was a huge part of winning the World Series in 2020. The guy is the leader in ERA this year. And it's a debate whether you're going to give him the ball in Game 1. If he got any run support, he would have won 20 games this year. But he didn't in the first half of the season, and he came up short. This is the stuff that, Heath has said about it. This is the thing that worries me. Come the playoffs, all of a sudden, the Dodgers either abandon what's worked for them, or it's like Tony La Russa bullshit to me, where it's just like, hey, this number, page 5 of this book says this is what we do here, where it's just like, yeah, I know, old man shaking fist at cloud right now.
No, I'm with you, man.
But we've heard it from all the old guys, like when Niedenfuhr came on the show, and was just like, the old guys have a hard time watching the game now because they just can't relate to this. Like, the eye test is completely abandoned. Like, a guy is just mowing through a lineup, and it's like, we got to get him out of there because he's going to go the second time through, and we can't let these guys see him a second time. It's like, nobody's touching him. Why are you taking him out?
Just continue to do what you guys have done this year. You won 111 games. Like,
right,
it's
exactly.
working,
That is my concern going into these playoffs, is you're just going to be like, who is making this call? And look, I know, and Roberts has talked about it. He works with the front office. They make the decisions. They lay out the information and all that stuff. I mean, look, as much as you want to kill Lasorda pitched to Jack Clark. It was his call. There was nobody else that you could pin that on. That was Tommy's call, and we went down on the ship with Tommy because he chose what he did. I don't know. That's what worries me going into these playoffs is, are they going to take the bat out of players' hands? Are they going to take the ball out of pitchers' hands? That's a concern.
Mm-hmm. Before we start to wrap it up, a few more minutes here with the Ring the Bell guys from the Ring the Bell podcast. They talk all things Padres. By the way, Juan, to your point, if it was Buck Showalter, he'd just ask him if he's cheating. Just check him for the sticky shit.
No, I think Buck Showalter was too busy trying to stick his finger up DeGrom's ass. Did you guys see that picture? On the Twitter, I'm like, what the fuck is going on over there?
Yeah, it was a very sensual series with the ear touching.
We talked about the hitters. Obviously, we know what's going on with the offenses on both sides. We know what the Dodgers bring. They won 111 games. Don't do the cute shit. The bullpens, I think, is intriguing because the bullpen for the Padres had been suspect, right? And you kind of, for the most part, know with what the Dodgers, what that bullpen is going to be. There's a name that casuals may not know as far as that goes, and maybe even Dodger fans. Robert Suarez. That dude's good. He's probably the best reliever all of us have not heard of. What can you tell us about that guy?
I mean, he's a guy who has really reinvented himself, getting another shot at the bigs. And he's, besides really like the first game that he made his debut where he blew it up, I think it was like the opening game, he's been pretty consistent and he's got electric stuff. I mean, touches triple digits on miles per hour. Can get you the big strikeout when you need it. Just a really clutch pitcher. Kind of eliminates all of the noise around him. And he's been that setup guy this year, kind of going from 7 to 8. And of course, he hasn't really gotten that closer opportunity unless we needed him because, our closer's gotten short rest or something. But just Mr. Reliable right now, especially down the stretch. I mean, these big games, he's been unhittable. And I put out a funny tweet the other day. Robert Suarez is greater than Edwin Diaz, as it seemed in that series. So. People loved it. No trumpets either. We don't even need the trumpets.
Yeah. Well, and if I'm being completely honest, that's the only spot that I'm really worried with the Dodgers is closing out the game right now, right? Because with Kim, you don't know with Kimbrel, what you're going to get.
You're going to get. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And and obviously, I mean, Evan Phillips has been lights out. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. He's been lights out. So setup guy to setup guy, that's a push. But at the end of the game, that's where I'm concerned as Dodger fan. So Juan, I ask you, or rather, go ahead, Nick.
I was really concerned with our bullpen down the stretch, but they've seemed to really tighten things up. And Heath and I talk about this all the time. I mean, Josh Hader, of course, was looking completely suspect throughout the season, and he seemed to really just figure it out these last couple of weeks. So I'm happy with what we got.
So Juan, what do you think happens there as far as the closer goes?
There's no way Kimbrel's coming in the ninth. If Kimbrel comes in the ninth, there will be riots in the ravine. People will lose their fucking mind. And I'm telling you, you will not see Kimbrel in the ninth. Absolutely not. You just can't. Because look, Heath, you've been in a clubhouse, all right? When a guy like that is struggling, how does the rest of the team? There's that classic video from who's the Phillies catcher? I'm totally blanking.
Realmuto?
Yeah, when Realmuto sees the guy coming in from the bullpen and he's just like, does the eye roll like, fuck.
Yeah.
Right now, you are coaching for the 26 guys in the clubhouse, not for one guy's ego to rebuild. You are here to win the game. If you see Kimbrel come on in the ninth, how's the rest of that clubhouse going to react when it's like, really, dude? You pulled him out of that spot, and now you're going to put him in the playoffs?
Yeah, the playoffs, it's all going to be about how you manage. It's about winning in the playoffs. It's not about the egos, like you said. It's when a guy's coming in the game, it doesn't matter what position. If he's not been doing well, the whole team's just kind of like, oh, man, that guy. We're like, man, I hope he does it this time. Come on, you could do it this time. And you're praying the whole time. And then there's other guys that come in, you're like, oh, it's over. It's over. Yeah. So I think this series is going to come down to, pitching match. It's not pitching matchups, but who manages better, what guys to bring in and what situations, what starters to leave out there a little bit longer than whatnot, or to pull early. It's going to be a good matchup. I think it's going to be a lot more fun than the Mets series, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens on both sides.
Hey, on that point, Melvin outmanaged Showalter, right, in that division series?
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
It's not even close, bro. He outmanaged the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Well, but I just don't see enough people making that point.
Well,
it's about the Mets' failure when it's just like, hey.
I think that's what you alluded to earlier, though. It's that East Coast bias, right?
Yeah,
where
it's
everyone's
bullshit.
like, oh, it's New York. Like
Yeah.
the fans were just like expecting to trample us, right? And then of course they start coming up with excuses, like ESPN on the broadcast, like, well, they keep on asking for time to pause, for Chris Bassett. And it's like Bassett's shaking off every pitch for like the first 15 seconds. Like the batter can't just be standing there just idle for 20 seconds. Like it was all on the Padres, trying to screw up his groove. And maybe it was a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, it's that East Coast bias that you're mentioning. And I'm so glad it's West Coast teams.
Yeah.
I would love nothing more than to see the Mariners in the World Series, so we don't have to deal with any of that.
That would be pretty fun. But it's like back in the 20 years ago, it was about the manager managing the game. Now it's about what stats we got, from upstairs. Yeah. Because even Buck said, well, I got information from his spin rate. So information during the game had to come down to him and
from Twitter, probably.
So in the dugout, you have to be on Twitter. You got to have information come down and say, use your own thoughts. Think out there,
You hit, I forgot to bring that up. The announcers themselves kept harping on his spin rate. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah.
They were
it's 400 RPMs higher. Oh my gosh.
Like with disbelief, as if they believed he could be cheating. And I just thought, what are we watching here? Like
ESPN does a terrible job covering baseball.
So annoying.
ESPN wants the East Coast to win.
Yeah.
That's all it is. They don't want the West Coast to win. Even when I played, I used to say stuff to them all the time. Goes, you don't like us out West. No, yeah, we do. You never cover anybody out here.
Yeah.
It's true.
When I was with the Mets and I was a nobody, we got coverage all the time about everything. I go to San Diego and it's like, oh yeah, we have a team out there.
Well, I think that I don't know about you guys. What drives me crazy is when the national guys come in and they start talking like they're fucking experts on the team. When it's like, how many times have you watched these guys play? You're gonna sit here and tell me, oh, I know about it. I was like, no, get the guys who cover this team every day to talk about this team. Those are the guys I trust.
I would love a team up, right? Like getting whoever you guys have in your booth and whoever we have in our booth and teaming them up, so there's not, there's bias, but it's bias from each side. You know what I mean?
I like that.
ESPN always has the worst announcers with the worst analytics, and they were even saying like when Machado, when they went up when they hit Grisham for last game, they hit him in the back, and I think it was a 2-2 count with 2 outs in like the 6th or 7th inning. We're up by 4 runs at that point, and they're like, you got to be suspicious if you're the Padres, right? It's like, why would they at a 2-2 count drill Grisham in a playoff game in a winner take all to put an extra man on base to give a guy a fresh count? Like, that is the most ridiculous take I've ever heard on ESPN.
You know what was a good example of that, Nick? I don't know if you watched the Mariners Blue Jays game, that crazy 10-9 game.
Yeah, that was nuts.
When the Mariners were hitting some of the Blue Jays players, and of course they were just saying that the Mariners pitchers are the most despicable human beings and deserve to die, kick them out of baseball. But they didn't say anything when the Blue Jays hit the Mariners guys early in the game.
Yeah, you got to be nice to the Canadians.
Okay, wait. So, who here is all going to be there? I'm talking to the Bleed Los guys. Are you going to be at the game? Because how are you getting your tickets? Are you going through Tijuana or?
You mean the fact that we're not allowed to go down to Petco? Is that what you're talking about?
We've been
how I'm going to get my tickets, Alicia? I'm going to buy them from a Padres fan who's going to sell them to me for a shitload of money, and that guy's going to make money off of me.
I think this year is going to be a little different. I don't think they're going to do that.
Well,
no, they already announced it.
The Padres fans are selling tickets already?
No, but the thing, they're trying to limit the area that you can buy, but the thing they're forgetting, there's a ton load of Dodger fans that live out that way. Yeah.
No, it's going to be like Rams fan who sold their tickets to the Cowboys. They sell one ticket to that game and they pay for their season tickets for the whole year. It's business. It's capitalism. Come on, you Americans. Don't you know this?
Well, it also lit a fire under me because I was not planning on going to 2 and 3. I need to stay home for other reasons. But now that I found out the Padres organization does not want to sell us tickets, that's anti-American, man.
You know what? They're treating us like Raiders fan, Alicia, and I know this because I'm a Raiders fan, so I'm used to this. All right, I'm used to this treatment.
Well, I mean, it's not the jersey; it's the alcohol.
They're shadow banning us like Raiders fans because
that's right.
Because why?
Because we suck. Just because we suck, don't hold that against us. I mean,
no, you guys took our football team, so we're holding it against you.
Yeah.
Oh, but we didn't want.
I think a lot of people. You can take it back if you want, Heath. I mean, we don't need it. I mean, I'm starting to think. I agree with Nick. I mean, maybe that franchise is cursed, man. Because
I think it's the owners that are cursed. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
I bet you if we all pull our money, they would sell us the team because they don't want it either. Like that's just what it's at.
Well, maybe.
They're so stubborn. Apparently, that family is like $350 million in debt, and like
Are you serious?
the head owner Dean Spanos is just like refusing to let the crown jewel of the family go, and like one of the sisters is trying to form a lawsuit against her brother because like the family will is in debt and like he refuses to sell. I would love nothing more for them to sell, and I don't know if it means they'd relocate back to San Diego because they got to get a stadium built first. But
they have that soccer stadium. You'd fill that more than you would SoFi.
Right. Yeah.
True.
There is the plan. They left that new stadium open so they can build onto it if they needed to. So that's a cool thing. Snapdragon. What a great name.
Well, apparently Alicia's going to go down there. I know why she's going, though. She's only going for the ranch waters and for stuff.
Here we go.
And the tacos.
Only 2 reasons. Tacos, But
come on.
They are good.
First of all,
for those of you who want to hang out with Alicia in Game 3, just go find the ranch water and you'll find her there.
It could be a completely different discussion, but Petco Park food destroys Dodger Stadium food. You guys have hardly any options.
I'm not going to argue with you because I don't eat at the stadium. I eat outside of the stadium. Shout out to Teddy's, El Russo, all the other places in around the ravine. Those are the places I eat. But yeah, you're right.
Maybe in the off season we could have a food battle podcast to discuss which ones. Yeah, because your hot dogs are trash, bro. Your hot dogs are trash.
It's not about the hot dogs.
Right, but if you're going to have a ballpark, at least have a good hot dog, man.
Do you know that Dodger Stadium sells the most hot dogs in all of the country for every event, even state fairs, even the Mets and the Yankees. They will have all these Nathans and all that.
I like Dodger dogs. I think they're good.
Dodger dogs are the number one seller by far. The number two.
And that's after we got rid of the all-you-can-eat gordos out in right field in the Palenque out there. After we cut them off after 40 hot dogs. I mean, could you imagine?
So is that the wager then? Should we go with that?
Who's got the better food?
No. Well, there should be food involved because I'm a
if
fatty.
There's food involved. There's got to be drinks involved.
Right.
That's it.
Well, I'm not
sure.
So
what is it? Dinner? Whoever wins series treats the other one to dinner?
In your hometown, you can choose. And and dinner and maybe the first round. Because I don't got that Dallas Reigns money anymore. So
she spent it all. She sold her Rams tickets yesterday, and now she's already spent that money.
She spent it all on Dodger dogs.
Oh my God! I'm so glad I didn't go to Rams after all. I needed to get my voice back. And the first 5 minutes, I'm like, oh damn!
They are not good.
They are not good. That offense is atrocious.
It's not Stafford's fault. We have 5 different O-line combinations in 5 games. They can't protect him. He's on his back all the time.
That defense is also very suspect.
He's the number 1 sacked quarterback in NFL this morning.
Well, he's only trying to throw to Cooper Kupp. That's it.
That's the other problem. Yeah, he's only trying to throw to one guy. Yeah.
Yep.
He has no time, and I would go with my sure guy too, hoping I don't get slammed into the ground.
Well, and you know what you should do if you don't have time? Run the damn ball. That's what the Cowboys did, and it worked out okay.
Oh God, don't get me started.
Before we go, I know that you guys are going to pick the Dodgers for our series, and I know we're going to pick the Padres. But who is your pick? Who is your pick for the AL to make it to the World Series?
As it sits today.
Yep.
Oh man, let me hold on a sec. Let me look at one thing. Go ahead.
I have the Trash Throws. I mean, I just think the Trash Throws
are scary.
They just find a way. But hey, man, if the Guardians keep pitching the way they're pitching, I mean, I was not expecting that from those guys.
No, not at all.
I still have the Astros, but my dark horse is the Mariners. I didn't expect the Mariners to.
I'm right there with you.
Because the lights get bright, and some people, tend to shun.
Hey, but give credit to the man. Heath said the Mariners all along, back when we talked to him in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, that's true.
Still think it's going to be Seattle. Still think it's going to be Seattle.
Really?
The AJ Preller Bowl.
I just think here's the thing. Houston, I think I don't know. They just haven't really played. They play in a horrible division.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. It's just kind of like they were just destined to be there. Then I think Seattle will beat them. And then you got Cleveland against the Yankees. I think the Yankees were so about judge, and they kind of fell off a little bit. And I think they're so much starstruck and and I think Cleveland's just going to take them. And then I just think, Seattle, it's going to be Seattle against Cleveland. And I think Seattle has a little bit better hitting, but it's the 2 young teams, the 2 major league futures. They're going to battle to get to the World Series. So,
yeah.
Hey, Heath, give me some closer on closer crime here. What Chapman did, is that just him being like, I want out?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think he's just – I hate to speak bad about people, but just some people are they just don't care, and there's no loyalty anymore. I think loyalty is pretty much gone. Maybe I think it's partly because of the teams, partly because of players. I don't think it's just become just players that a lot of people say it is, but I think it's just there's no more loyalty in the game anymore. That's why the game has changed. It's all about different numbers and matchups, this and that, instead of about gut feelings and, hey, this guy's having a birthday. Let's play him or let's start him. David Wells was hungover and he threw a perfect game. You just was trying to go out there and throw strikes and just please hit the ball the first time. But the funny part about that is when I played with Greg Maddux, I asked him, I forget what the question was, and he goes, I'm hoping the hitter hits the first pitch. And I go, why is that? He goes, so I don't have to throw that many pitches. I can throw more innings. So I'm like, the professor had some idea of what to do that a guy was hungover that a perfect game was doing the same thing. It's like, why didn't you just do that all the time?
Yeah.
So I just think people they want out, so they just do stupid things or say things. I mean, look at Juan Soto. I believe he didn't hit well this year with the Nationals and just decided I'm just going to walk a lot, and because I got nobody to hit around me and I don't really want to be here and I'm not going to sign $400 and some odd million with this club, I want out. So people they're really selfish nowadays.
Roger, what's your pick for the AL?
I still think it'd be probably Houston, but I would love to see, either Cleveland or Seattle. I'll take any one of those guys if they can get there.
Then the best for last, Alicia.
Well, I really like what the guys said, the Padres guys, because I don't want the Astros. I don't want to give them any of our shine. I don't want to go there. I don't want to eat there, nothing. So I was off. I had picked in the beginning of the season the Blue Jays. So now I'm going with Seattle too, because I've actually been to that ballpark and they were very cool fans, and they
have ranch water.
No, but they bring you hot chocolate to your seat and soup. Yeah, because it's really freaking cold there. But yeah, so that would be I would love to go back to Seattle for sure.
That'd be a fun trip.
Yeah,
It would. It'd be cold,
beautiful.
but it would be a fun one.
It's beautiful.
Yes. Well, boys, thank you guys for joining us. So the wager is obviously
Thank you.
Whoever wins, the other party has to take them out for dinner and drinks. That's the wager we're agreeing on.
I'm down.
Where are we doing this? We're going to do this in LA if you guys win, and then San Diego if we win.
I
Yes,
believe so. Yes.
That works for me.
yes,
Yeah.
and that way you could pick your favorite. Should we do tacos?
We could.
It's got to be your favorite place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, it's I don't want to say dealer's choice, but loser's choice, because I mean we gotta pony up, yeah.
Loser's choice.
If you're not following those guys from the Ring the Bell podcast, go follow them and go listen to their show. They're good guys, and they keep it real, as you guys just heard. I mean, Heath Bell kept it pretty real today, and I'm here for that. As also a fellow conductor of the Fuck Buck Showalter train, I'm all about that. This week's episode of the podcast, though, was presented by our partners. Oh, go ahead. What?
I was just gonna say, we all agree Dodgers in 4, right? Right, Nikki?
Okay.
Right. Dodgers in 4.
Me and Nick need to agree that you guys need to bring your wallets.
There it is.
I like it.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I'm here just for. I think this is going to be a really good series.
It'll be fun.
I think it's and
Thank God we're off ESPN now too. FS1.
Yes. Yeah. Big Fox. And I will also say this: whoever wins this series, I think, is going to win the World Series. That's just me.
Wow. I like that prediction.
It's also bold because I have the Dodgers winning the World Series too. So it all works out.
I'll hold you to it when San Diego wins.
Fair.
Good luck to you guys.
But this week's episode was presented by BetOnline. Head on over to their website, betonline.ag. When you join, you'll receive a 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use our promo code, which is BELIEVE50, BLEAV, and you'll receive those rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts. We'll keep the shit talking on Twitter going, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks,
Always
guys, for being good sports. Thank you.
Yes, always.
Thank you for the kind words, finally, Alicia.
I'm hungry. I'm sorry.
That's she's the opposite. When she gets hangry, she gets really nice. So next time you talk to her and she's full, it ain't gonna be pretty.
That's not true. I was feisty earlier. I admit it. That's why I said thank you for being a good sport.
Got it. So when you take us to dinner, it's gonna be bad.
Yes.
We'll drink ranch water with you.
Yes, bring your own ranch water. Yeah. Well, thank you guys again, and we'll catch you. We'll catch you throughout the series.
All right.
Good luck.
Good luck to you guys.